Rudders, welcome to E-Talk, a new segment at Sam's Bikes where we talk to cool people doing cool things on e-bikes. And today on E-Talk we have Davi Birks, the mastermind behind the HKT Podcast. In my opinion, the best mountain bike podcast going. Davi's kind of got a style of, maybe it's a fusion between maybe Joe Rogan and Tim Ferriss. I really like the way how Davi doesn't just talk about mountain biking. He goes deep into routines of athletes and really breaks down how these athletes are becoming superstars. So hit the pause button and head over to the HKT Podcast, subscribe. And if I was going to listen to a first one, it's an epic. It's a 3-hour with Matt McDuff. It's so good. It goes so deep and I really loved it. Another thing that I can really rate is the Winter Defiance Handbook. Davi made this about, I want to say like 3 weeks ago. And basically it's a bit of fun. It's to keep people motivated over this winter, which I think could be a hard one with COVID. And it definitely resonated with me because, you know, I do find myself sitting on the couch wasting a bit of time, but I'm definitely getting into this and I definitely recommend downloading it. Link will be in the description. And riders, Ride Concept have come to the party and are the official sponsor of this e-talk. I'm going to take the moment to talk about my favorite Ride Concept shoe right now. This is the Vice. The Vice is like a light enduro, light trail shoe that also is perfect for BMX riding, dirt jumping, and also wearing down to the pub. I actually wear it as my casual shoe now. And on my commensal dirt jumper, this is amazing. So riders, if you're thinking about buying a new riding shoe, check out Ride Concept Shoes. They're doing great things. They're a very young company, 18 months old, but I predict big things for Ride Concepts. And now riders, onto the podcast with Davi. We go deep. We talk about how he got involved in the podcast, his crazy ideas for marketing his distribution company, the first oh shit moment with big guests on the podcast, and loads more. I hope you really enjoy this e-talk with Davi, and let's get into it. All right, Davi, mate, welcome to e-talk, Sam's Bike's new sort of podcast that's online, sort of YouTube style. And I am representing here. It could be too much. But I'm a massive fan and I've been listening to your show for about, I would say 18 months. I'm a stock photographer and I do a lot of work online. Basically, you helped me get through a lot of very boring hours editing. So thank you for that. And also, I just wanted to give you a shout out. The writers wouldn't know that probably like 6 months ago, I hit a bit of a wall with the channel. I'd done about 60 videos and I reached out to Davi and man, you were so much help. Like you just gave me sort of that extra push to just keep on going, you know, and I really appreciate that. It's a lot of people that can talk the talk, but don't actually walk the walk. Like, you know, I shot you a private message and, you know, you're kind of a big deal now. And I was shocked that I got a, you know, reply instantly pretty much. And man, thank you so much. You know, you really helped.
My pleasure. You know what? It's funny when you talk about like the direct message side of things. It's something that as the platform's grown, and I don't have like a huge social media following or anything like that. I don't really play like that Instagram game. I'm not really hunting for followers. Like, you know, it's not that important in the grand scheme of things. You know, you're not going to take it to the grave with you. But I do keep an eye on the DMs because I think the people reach, it's important to get back to people. You know, I've been there, done that, messaging people, podcasters who you've listened to, and you just want to say like, this episode actually, you know, helped. Like it's done this, it's done that, or you might have a question or two. So I think it's super important to get back to people.
Definitely.
It can be very time consuming, but it is important, and you never know like what someone can take away just from a reply or whatever, you know. And sorry to waffle on straight away at you, but like we were just talking before about, you know, mental health and stuff like that, and especially as I've been talking about it more on my platform, it's becoming more of a thing that people will reach out and they'll say, look, I'm struggling with this or that. And honestly, man, it's it's humbling that people do that. It really is, because I'm no counselor. I'm nothing like that. But you can always give them a bit of a perspective or point them in the direction.
Sometimes it's better than that, just that guy that's going to listen, or the person that's going to listen is sometimes all it takes.
Yeah.
So that's
and I
great.
think sometimes just guiding people towards another podcast that you've listened to, or a book or something, I think it can make a huge change, can't it? It's done it to me. It's done it in my life. So
No,
why not trying to spread that love,
definitely. Before we hop into all the questions I have written down, do you want to, obviously I'm a big fan. Do you want to just give the riders out there, the e-bike riders are probably a different sort of crowd, or maybe not. Just give them a brief insight to who Davi Birks is and how the Hook It podcast started.
Yeah, sure. I'll try and do it as easily and as wrapped up and nicely as possible, because it's kind of a long story. But basically, I got into podcasting, probably like a lot of people 7 or 8 years ago. I had a company previously to what I have now, which was a camper van company, and we basically we had a factory in Poland. Like, I live in the UK, and we did most of our sales in Sweden. So I had this epic driving triangle of England to Poland to Sweden, Norway, Russia, Spain, Denmark. I did this basically. I traveled Europe selling camper vans to people. So I was spending a lot of time driving, and discovered that a lot of radio in these countries is pretty bad. So I was, I just got into podcasts. I can't remember that, when I initially found them, but again, like a lot of people, found Joe Rogan and went down that rabbit hole of finding out more about the guests he was having, and it opened up a whole world of conversations and ideas that I'd never really been exposed to. I think I was definitely living in my own little bubble at that time of mountain biking and motocross and travel and business and stuff. I was in my own little insulated bubble, so it exposed me to all these ideas and amazing people. So fast forward a few years after finding podcasts, I started a company called Hook It Products. We're a distribution company based here in Sheffield, and I was looking at basically ways of marketing the business without spending a fortune. And I was like, okay, I wonder if there's any mountain bike podcasts out there. And it turns out there wasn't. This is going back about 4.5, probably 5 years now.
Yep.
And I thought, well, here we go. I'm going to start a mountain bike podcast. So the original idea was just to do a sort of industry only one, thinking that the only people that would be bothered, to listen to what I have to say and what some of my guests have to say are going to be bike industry folk. So I had my first guest, which was Sai, who owns HKT Bikes. And Kotick have got a really engaged following. It's maybe you could say a more of a, I don't know, maybe
Kotick?
like a middle-aged following, I think.
Kotick, I remember it's that was a pretty hardcore brand in the 90s, wasn't it?
No, Kotick.
Is that the same?
Yeah, but I don't know when they started.
Frames and downhill frames and
no, all steel stuff. Pretty much all steel. Made in Sheffield, a lot of it as well.
I remember them. Yeah. I'm showing my age there. I'm definitely one of their. I remember those guys.
So Sai came on the podcast, and then it was received really well. It was mind blowing. I remember the first one went out and it got 1,000 downloads. I was like, wow, this is cool. And then let's fast forward a few years. It sort of turned out that then pro athletes were starting to reach out, being like, oh, can I come on the podcast? And the first guy that did it was Danny Hart, world champion at the time. He shot me a DM, can I come on the podcast? And I was like, never really thought about doing it more for the masses. So okay, cool.
How amazing is that? I would
super good.
Freak out. For me at the moment it would be maybe Sam Pilgrim. If Sam Pilgrim goes, oh Sam, I want to come on your channel, but no, sorry, we're full. It's not going to happen.
So that basically it's just been on this growth trajectory since then, and it's like we were saying before, it's opened up to doing more than just mountain biking stuff. I do a lot of talking about mental health and just different guests, man. I think I'm starting to go a little bit more out of mountain bike and action sports.
Yep.
Especially as other mountain bike podcasts have started since. That's basically a brief synopsis of how it started. And then
now, tell me, I have done my research. So tell me, there was 2 ways you were thinking about marketing your distribution company. Tell me the other way.
All right. Good question. So yeah, all right. I came up with two ideas. So the first one was to basically try and break the world record for the longest jump on a mountain bike, which in hindsight is probably one of my stupidest ideas, to be honest.
When
But
man, I
I
listened
was
to your
looking at it like
podcast.
it's not that big. It's not. It's doable. And like, imagine the eyes that that'd get on the business, and like the whole thing of this massive like marketing promo exercise. So, dude, I went so far down this rabbit hole. I had bike sponsor, a location. I had someone who was ready to build the ramps, everything. But then it started to get like, okay, this is going to cost £10,000 to get a stunt coordinator, and I was like, okay, I'm out. So, um,
Man, I
it's
was
still on my
listening.
list of things to do.
I was listening to that. I mean, like a lot of people, I think I listened to it while I ride my bike. I almost fell off my bike when I heard that. I was like, "What?"
Because it's so stupid.
No, it was just hilarious. I was like, "Oh man, that's definitely so funny." Um,
Yeah.
so if like Sam's Bikes is still on its way up, what would be some crazy marketing idea to get more eyes on my channel? Go on,
Oh
just
wow.
out there.
Question. I mean, getting Sam on it would be pretty big, but I think just these guerrilla marketing tactics that are just sort of out there that you can just, I don't know, man. I'm trying to think. I mean, this is already a really good idea. I think how many people are doing this sort of podcast vibe, and just putting it on YouTube and letting people watch it? Not that many. So this is
Not
unique
many.
in
Yeah,
itself, isn't it? This is already a unique thing. But I think for you, I'd be going on trips. People seem to love watching people go on a riding trip and taking a camera and documenting that trip. People
yeah,
are all
yeah.
about, right now, like I feel like people are all about experiences. I think people are investing money in going on trips. They're going on like
Very
biking
good.
holidays. So I feel like there's definitely room out there for someone to go and like review X trail center or holiday destination and stuff like that. Especially with accessibility for e-bikes, because that's a massive question mark for a lot of people with an e-bike. It's like, can I actually go and ride? Not can I go and ride the trails, but how will it work if I get there? If there's an uplift, do I have to do it?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. No, good point.
yeah, so
Definitely, good point. Now, seeing your, I think we resonate with a lot of different things that you listen to, and you're clearly into marketing. I love marketing and advertising. I think that's one of the best things about YouTube and having your own little brand. It's kind of fun. What's the best marketing or advertising campaign you've seen in the last couple of years, or one of your favorite that you think you see it and you go, wow, I wish I thought of that?
yeah, man. Ah, wow, you have come at me with some questions, huh? When you said earlier, like, do you want to see him? And I was like, nah, I didn't think you'd be coming with the heavyweight stuff.
Yeah, man.
um, dude, there's some such good stuff out there. I think there's a lot of brands right now that are doing stuff quite, I wouldn't say subtle, but a good example actually would be that I actually work for a brand called Sax Underwear.
Yep.
And what they did recently was super interesting. So they used sort of regular blokes for their underwear campaign, like
Hmm.
marketing product shots. And they didn't talk about it. They didn't shout about it. And I think that's really interesting that you do it, but you don't go, oh, look what we've done. We've used this regular guy who's, a little bit overweight or is maybe has got a disability or something like that. And I think making that more into the norm is what brands should be doing, definitely. So I
Yep.
think that's one that definitely stands out. Anything that, well, not anything that Sax do, but that thing that Sax did again, you wouldn't have even really noticed it unless you got a catalog or you went through the social media or the website. But I think that was really nice. And then I sort of keep a pretty good handle on a company called On It.
Oh,
On
yeah, I know on it.
Onnit's
Yeah,
owned
yeah,
by Aubrey Marcus. He recently
yeah,
sold
yeah.
out, but I like how certain brands like that are so like multi-directional. So he's got like, the books. They've got a workout channel. They've got a podcast, and it create you. As someone who's like listening to the podcast, you've got like this really interesting sort of relationship with the company. You almost aspire to own On It products because you invested in the brand.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, anything like that. I think anything as well, obviously that Patagonia do is just next level.
Have
With
you
the
have you read his
making.
book? Let's Go
I
Surfing.
haven't actually. I
Gotta read
haven't.
that, man.
Yeah,
That should be on your list. It's such a great book.
yeah,
I
definitely,
did.
definitely.
Did you read Aubrey's Own the Day?
Yeah, I've read that. Yeah, yeah. It's
I
arguably one
enjoyed
of my
that as
favorite
well.
books. Yeah,
I
and
did
the
my
podcast
lemon.
version is really good.
I did my lemon water this morning. I do it every
Really?
morning. Yeah,
Yes, same
definitely.
man. Same bit of lemon, salt. Go get some sunlight. That
Yeah.
book has like legitimately changed how I act, and I mean, even down to just having a little pack of snooze here. You know,
What's
that's from snooze. It's like a nicotine patch that you
okay?
start to fade throughout the day. It's like just pop one of those in. I don't feel like a smoker or anything. There's no tobacco in it or anything like that. It just gets the brain firing again. It's just a good
Sorry.
cognitive boost.
Cognitive.
Cognitive
Cognitive.
boost. Yeah, cognitive boost. Um, but yeah, I think there's some brands out there that are really, you have to start thinking outside the box. The
That,
standard vanilla marketing doesn't work anymore at
do
all.
you
You've got to be
what
doing more.
what's your thought on YT and their really expensive $1 million advertising? Do you like that?
What do you mean? In what way? You mean
Oh,
like
just
signing like Aaron Gwynn or?
no. When they do like Vinnie Jones, hunting in the woods, and is that something that
I
you
like it.
see? Yeah.
I like it, man. I think there's just got to be a balance, between everything. And I think one thing that YT does, which is really interesting, is they do seem to mix it up a little bit. Looking at what YT are doing here in the UK is insane. I mean, they've got the mill, they call it. They've
The
got a
new
couple of
mill,
those.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
next level, man. I went down there a few months ago and met those guys, and it is next level. That is like the future of bike shops. It's insane. It's beautiful inside. Every bike's got its own little section. It's got like smoke machines in there, and there's a coffee shop vibe and all that. So
Pretty cool, yeah.
it's super cool, man. I mean, is that the future of mountain bike retail? I don't know. I wouldn't like to think
It's
it's gonna, the independents are gonna disappear, but they're certainly doing different things. Especially with that B2C model. You, you could say that they're earning a little bit more margin. They've got a little bit more, meat on the bone, so they can do those stuff.
yeah, like I mean, for me being in Spain and I've been in Spain now 8 years and I haven't earned a lot of money at all. And for me, the only options really were online brands. I just couldn't afford anything else. And I think they're doing a great job. And it's not for everyone though. Like you need to
Mm,
know how to fix a bike. You need to know how to
definitely.
like build a bike.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to say so now you're a big deal in the podcast world. When when was the moment that you realized that it was going to actually work, or when you actually got your first contract, or you actually got a little bit of a bit of a sniff that you're on your way?
Yeah, good question, man. I think we mentioned before about Danny Hart coming on. I mean, that's a long time ago. I'm going back probably 3.5 years actually.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
that moment of like, he's reached out and he's listened through finding it somehow. I don't know how. Like, I don't know how Danny ever even found the podcast, but he found it. I think I'm friends with Danny on Facebook actually, so he might have just seen it through there. That was definitely one of the turning points. The biggest One of the biggest moments was when Danny McCaskill
Oh
shared an
yeah.
episode just totally of his own accord. I'd
Yep.
never spoken to Danny or anything like that. That legitimately brought me to tears. And I
So
remember crying in my
so it
living room.
wasn't you hadn't you hadn't interviewed him. He wasn't sharing his own podcast. So it was just a
No,
random.
no, no. Just shared one, and I can't remember which one it was now, to be honest. I wish I could. He just shared something like, "Oh, let's check this out," and I was like, it.
Wow,
It was
that's
like that little
massive.
bit of validation that I think a lot of content creators sometimes, unless you're really good at sort of separating the ego from what you're actually putting out, which is really difficult.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't care about the numbers, I'm, whatever." And I am sort of at that point at the moment with my own in my life, but at that point, you're still looking for that little bit of like validation. Like, this is working, people are listening, and no matter how many times you look at the statistics and the analytics and the figures of what this thing's doing, it's just numbers on a screen, right?
Oh,
Unless people are
totally.
reaching back out and saying like they're listening and stuff, a lot of it is just numbers on a screen. Um, so that little bit of validation was definitely a thing. I think
So
I think
when
that's
was
really
your
it.
go on?
No, go on. I think they're like the two moments that like really
So it's probably the
spring.
same question, but when was who was your first oh shit moment? Like I'm having this person on oh shit, like I'm freaking out.
You know what? I don't really get like that, to be honest with you. There's the odd little time every now and again when you just like, oh shit, as if I'm sat talking to this person. Like, this is really cool. But I think you just got to remember, man, that people are just people at the end of the day. Like, just because they have a platform or they're really good at something doesn't, it doesn't change the fact that they're just a regular person. And what's really cool and that I've enjoyed about this podcast journey is that these people actually become friends. It's not like a quick, can we just sit down for 3 hours and chat? You form like this really strange bond with people because it's not very often that people will sit and have a 3 hour uninterrupted conversation anyway.
True.
So when you throw into the mix that you are asking them sort of like oftentimes some sort of like personal questions, you want to get into the backstory, you want to know about struggles or any sort of career injuries and stuff like that. You do have a really sort of interesting relationship with people, and the conversations, sorry, the sort of like the connection after definitely stays the same. Like I speak to pretty much everyone I've ever had on as a guest. Like, I still talk to them,
which is
as
great.
friends.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, I want to try and like get some information out of you so I can make a load of money. It's not really the point. It's more like, you're just having a chat and you put it out there for people to see and listen to. But we definitely remain friends with a lot of these people.
That's great. And what would be the best and the worst thing about the podcast?
Oh man, the worst is the workload is insane. I mean, that is something that people do not see with this thing. I think a lot of people might think, oh, you just record it online and you put it out. But there is so much goes on in the back of that. Like, when let's say, for example, I'll talk you through it a little bit. So, and you'll know, you create videos, you know how long that editing process can take.
Oh man, it takes forever.
Yeah. So if I've like had a guest and let's say there's some audio interference, like you've got to edit that out a lot of the time. I'll be honest, I'm pretty lazy with that at times. Like, I can just be like, oh, I'll just put it out. But if you want to be like really anal about it, you go through and you sort out all the audio, then you do the same with all the video, you piece it all together, you add intros, outros, music if you have any music in there. There's definitely been times where someone said they wanted a segment taken out. Maybe they've said something that they shouldn't have said. Then the upload takes a while. Writing the copy, like putting it out, then creating artwork takes ages sometimes because you've got to find the right images, you've got to get sign off on images. Dude, it takes ages. And honestly, I think I've only recently started uploading to YouTube, and that's been a journey, man, honestly, because my internet's not fast enough at home, so I have to go and sit at my friend's office. So I go and sit outside his office when he's not there at night. So I was out there it'll have been Monday for nearly 4 hours just uploading a YouTube video.
Oh, dude, I think that's when I contacted you in Australia because I was losing my mind. My dad had like basically two little mice out the back running a wheel, getting the internet going. Like, it was terrible, man. And I had to like move around the house to, oh no, it's here, it's in this spot. And I was trying to upload a video and it crashed like 5 times.
Oh, it's the
and I
worst.
had to start again, and I was just like, far out, I'm giving up. And
so frustrating.
Like, I mean, it's something that that I think those struggles that you go through make it that harder for other people to even enter. And it's like, I think it's such a difficult thing to get into because one, you got to put yourself out there, and two, you've got to just go for it. It's not, there's no sort of messing around going, oh no, I'll do one or two. No,
you've got to be sort of consistent with this thing. And I think as far as like the worst things go, I guess the first 3.5 years were bad in a way, because this thing, my podcast, doesn't earn a lot of money. Do you know what I mean? So those the first 3.5 years, I didn't earn a single penny from it, and that's hundreds of hours of work, hundreds of hours of like editing and just the grind of it, man. But knowing that at some point this thing's gonna like click and it's gonna start doing numbers. And
the crazy thing is, you've built an organic brand out of nothing. To build that from the ground up, I think it's super impressive, man. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that, man, because it has been a grind. So that's definitely like the worst. But then the best is just the friends again. Like it's the friends that I'm making through this, and it's not just the guest. It's legit like people that I talk to regularly through. Unfortunately, a lot of time it's through Instagram and stuff. But I've recently been talking to like listeners through Skype. Like, well, I'll meet up with people, and like especially when people reach out and say that they might be struggling, I've been like, yo, let's just jump on a Skype call one night. I'm not doing nothing. Like I'm at home. I'm in lockdown, so.
Lockdown. Yeah.
So let's just like sit and chat, So I've been
Very,
doing that.
very nice, man. Very nice of you. So now that the podcast is sort of, it is, in my opinion, the biggest and best in the mountain biking, I would say. I mean, it's the number one that I listen to.
Yeah, thank you.
What, for me now that my channel is getting, it's a bit bigger, and I feel those pressures of every Sunday I need to get that video out. It needs to be better than the last one. I'm constantly not looking for validation in a way, but I'm just constantly trying to improve, and I find it hard to deal with sometimes. What sort of managing strategies have you come up with? Because, being in, I'm not saying the limelight, that makes us sound like knobs, but it's like, kind of like just putting yourself out there and, for every 100 comments, you get one crap one, and your mind just sticks on that crap one. And it's people need to understand we've got hearts, man. You've got to be nice to us.
For sure. There's been some, I mean, let's be honest, pink bike can be ruthless at times. Pink bike can be horrible. And there's been times, dude, where like I've read stuff, or it happened on a bloody, what was it now? Instagram live video I was doing the other day, and someone perked up saying like, I don't listen to your podcast anymore. All you do is talk about motocross and yourself. And I was like, geez, all right, it's harsh. Like, why would you even say that? Don't listen. Like, it's fine. Just don't bother listening. It's totally okay. Like, I'm not bothered.
I don't.
You can't impress everybody. You can't make everybody happy.
Try and send people off with love, and then like you just get some people that are just such assholes. You're like, man, just give me a break. Trying to. But what would what's your managing strategies? What sort of to check out sort of what does that look like for you?
Yeah, you mean like as far as just staying positive and keeping on the same path? Like, I think as long as you mindful of it and that you stick with sort of what you want to do. I mean, it sounds sort of silly, but as long as in your own head you're happy with what you're producing, then does it really matter like who you're trying to impress? Like, just if you've got an idea and you run with it and it doesn't work, it's one of those. It's like a learning curve, isn't it? You just go, right, okay, that video didn't work, or that editing strategy or whatever you put in place didn't work, or does it really matter? Like, as long as it's fun and as long as you're like happy with what you're doing and it's giving you fulfillment, and that what if it's not hurting anybody, like, does it really matter? People will find it, people will watch, people will listen. But yeah, I don't think I really have any, man. I think it's just a case of I think the whole life package is kind of important here, that you surround yourself with good people, that you're doing the right things, that you're not stressed, that you're not got anxiety and stuff, and that you're just doing it because you want to do it. I think as soon as it starts feeling like a job, that's when it's like time to make some changes.
Oh, dude, for me at the moment, it definitely feels like a job. Like,
really?
It's been hard, like I try and get out a 10 to 15 minute high quality video once a week.
Yeah, and
that's a lot. Like, the last video I did for YT Decoy, which was a long-term review, took like 5 days.
Really? Yeah.
Like, it was a whole week, and it's 15 minutes on YouTube.
Yeah.
But it was a good 15 minutes. we nailed it.
But how many people will see that and just think it took you half an hour to do a 15-minute video together?
I know.
It's kind of annoying, but it does take time, man. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have any like tangible things I can say, but other than just being happy and keep doing what you want to do.
Just don't listen to all the haters. Just don't send us hate, man.
Do you get hate in the comments, or
not much? No. But it's like 1 in 100. But it's just human mindset that you'll get 100 great comments, and then one you stick on the one. Go, oh, that guy didn't like me. Shit.
Exactly.
So in your Matt McDuff interview, I think it took you 2 hours to start talking about the book. So now we're 33 minutes in. Let's start talking a little bit about e-bikes and why we're here.
Cool.
I understand you have entered the e-bike revolution. So tell us about your e-bike and do you love it or hate it?
Mate,
or
I absolutely love this thing. And I am kind of embarrassed to say that it's taken me so long to find e-bikes. So my whole e-bike journey was basically like, I've been working in the bike industry for a while now, probably 6 or 7 years. And so I sort of remember seeing e-bikes, to me, starting to get more popular. And the original ones that I used to see were kind of clunky looking. They had big batteries on the down tube. They didn't look fun to ride. Like, a lot of people that had them said that they were heavy. And I just listened to all that and I was just like, right, I don't want any part of it. I also think that my personal riding style is quite, I wouldn't say loose, but like I like just, throwing a bike around. I like playing on jumps. I like doing whips and, ripping corners up and stuff like that. And I just felt that like if I got involved in an e-bike, that it would just suck the fun right out of what I actually love about riding. So I'm not really interested in racing or anything anymore. I've been there, done that. I've raced some downhill, four-cross, all that sort of stuff. For me, it's about going out and just playing around with some friends. And honestly, I thought I don't want any part of this e-bike thing because it's just gonna, like I say, it's just gonna suck the fun out of riding. Like it's just gonna be this heavy thing that I can't play around on. You know what, as well, the other side of this is they're expensive.
Oh man, they're so expensive.
Right? And a lot of people will have that. A lot of people will do what I probably did, which is go, no, I don't want any part of that because they're £6,000 or whatever, insert number here, whatever an e-bike is. And a lot of people will probably just be like, nah, I'm not interested in it, remain as a traditionalist like I did for a while. So I barely ever ridden an e-bike up until about, how long have I had this thing? Probably 4 or 5 months ago.
Right. So you've had it that long, this e-bike?
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Maybe.
And so what, you have a Focus Sam?
Yeah, I have the Focus Sam Squared. Yep, 6.8, 6.9.
That's the last year's model.
That's last year's model. Yeah, I'm on last year's model at the moment. It's a 6.8. I just checked. It's a Sam 6.8. And the reason that I ended up on this bike is because I was extremely lucky to get a deal with Focus. Like I'm honestly, again, we've spoke about doors opening through the podcast. One of the doors that's opened was to sign for Focus. The issue that Focus and like every other bike manufacturer on the planet has got is they don't have many bikes. So I went and grabbed a bike out of the demo fleet, which is this Sam 6.8.
Yep. And sweet. And that is, from memory, that's like a 170, 160, 27, something like that?
It is a 180. No, it's 170. I'm sorry, man. I'm so bad. Like what we're going to discover throughout this podcast as well is that I'm not very bike geeky.
That's right. I've always thought I know. I pretty much could give you all the geo numbers. I'm a geek. I'm a geek.
You're the geek. I'm not. I'm the guy that just cocks his leg over it and just goes out for a ride and it's like, yeah, this is really fun. So yeah, it's a 170. Sorry, it's a 170.
Okay, so and that's on 27s?
Yes, it's on 650B, 27.5 inch wheels.
And Shimano motor.
Shimano motor, yes, indeed. Which again, I haven't ridden another motor. The only other one I've ridden is I've ridden the new version of this bike, which Ollie's already got. Ollie Wilkins has got one of those. So I rode his, which is Bosch equipped, at an event that we did a few months ago. And I think without spending a lot of time on it, I personally couldn't really tell much difference. I only did a few laps of a trail centre. So, but the one thing that I've enjoyed is I initially thought, like I was saying, that this thing was just going to kill my riding and just make it dormant and just boring. But it's the absolute opposite. Honestly, dude, I'm loving this bike. Like I can't get enough of going out riding on it, which is like real cool.
Your background's moto. So
yes.
This is like the perfect like mix between both.
Exactly.
This is when I was a kid, I wanted to be a moto, but I just didn't have enough money to get a motorbike. It's like so. Yeah. What is the best and worst thing about the e-bike? Any e-bikes?
Wow. Okay. So worst thing. Let's start with that. Worst thing for me is that I have to keep my bike in my house, which means I have to carry it up 2 flights of stairs every time I come home from a ride. And yes, it's not heavy in the grand scheme of things. It's 24 kilogram. But it's heavier than a regular bike, and sometimes getting it upstairs, especially when it's muddy, is a pain in the ass. Like, it's so shit.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
I would agree with that, definitely.
yeah,
I live on the 4th floor with no
really.
lift. And
Ah,
yeah, it's kind of an old Madrid sort of center Madrid sort of house that has very narrow stairwells.
okay. I was
Yeah,
thinking about making like a funny video about how to get an e-bike upstairs, because I've got this like technique down now where I can get my shoulder underneath the saddle and then hold the top tube and just pull it up.
Do it. I want to see that video.
I can do it.
I need to know how to do it. Definitely. I've actually got some sort of RSI from lifting it like this crazy sort of angle. Yeah,
I'll make it. I'll do it this week. Just a little Instagram one or something of how to get an e-bike upstairs. That'll be kind of funny.
So you've got some big hitting mates in the UK that are riding e-bikes.
Yep.
Probably they're contractedly needed to ride e-bikes. In general, not naming anyone, but just in general, what is the status quo for e-bikes in the UK in sort of the harder core groups of riders? Are they accepted fully, or is it still sort of frowned upon?
Yeah, I think I use my group of friends as an example. We're all pretty like hardcore mountain bikers. And I think the e-bike is one of those things. It's like if everyone's got one, it's accepted. If you're the only guy out on a ride with one, then you're not accepted at all. You're labelled as a bit of a knob. But it seems to be becoming way more accepted. I think as they've got lighter, as they've got, better geometry, and as they've become more playful, and you can go for longer rides on them. Especially, dude, like where I live in Sheffield, just outside the Peak District, it's pretty hilly here. So you're almost like silly not to have one, especially in winter.
Yeah,
because those climbs out here, man, are pretty gruesome. They're pretty gnarly. Like, so I think it's becoming more accepted, definitely. And I think as more riders are using them too, so like pros, like you just said, look at like what this is quite interesting actually, because I remember when I first got mine, I went down to Surrey and rode with Ollie, and I was already under this impression of like this thing's gonna be kind of. I'd only ridden it like once or twice, and it obviously an e-bike does feel quite different to a regular bike until you get into it and you start learning like, okay, I just need to like, if I want to manual something, I just need to pull up a bit harder. If I want to like do a cutty, I just got to like press in a little bit harder and drive my heels in. And I remember still felt a bit like this is not really into it yet. And then going riding with someone like Ollie and watching how he rides an e-bike, I was like, oh, it's exactly the same. You just need to have a little bit more talent, and you also just need to commit a little bit more to things,
and also just a bit more time.
Like more time on it.
I fully committed to the e-bike. Like I sold my enduro bike and I went, you know what, I'm going e, and that was about 18 months ago. And for the first 2 months, I was like, I made a mistake. I hated it.
Really?
But I was like, I was over jumping things. I was, and when you over jump on a 25 kilo bike, it really hurts. And I just wasn't enjoying the riding, and my whole body was hurting from like lifting that extra weight. Yeah, I think it takes, like you said, 4 months. I reckon before I ride my e-bikes now faster than I ride anything else. Like really, all my trails, I've done PBs on my e-bikes. I just took time.
It's interesting actually. I went for a ride at the weekend with a friend, and I've kind of like, it's really silly this, but I've always really struggled with just like a manual where you get it into the perfect point and you can just hold it down a hill. So we were just going down this hill, and I pulled up, and for the first time I got it perfect and just sat there just like, oh, you can do it. Oh my God, it can be done.
That's amazing. On an e-bike, that's really difficult.
Super
really
stoked.
On an e-bike.
Yeah, I was really stoked to get it done. I again need to go make a video doing an e-bike manual at some point.
Yeah, definitely. So what's in your stable at the moment? What bikes do you have?
I have a Focus Sam Squared e-bike in my stable.
And anything else?
I'm e-bike only right now, man.
E-bike only.
E-bike only.
Ruins my next question. Was how often do you ride a week, and is it all e-bike? So yeah,
it's all e-bike. And I like to try and get out, dude. Like at least 3 times. That's again, it's strange at the moment. With the changing seasons, it's getting dark really early. work's pretty busy. The bike industry's pretty busy. The other stuff that I do is pretty busy. But I think it's very important to carve out that bit of time to get out if you can every day, if you can, or at least 3 times. The weekend I try and have at least either the Saturday or the Sunday where I'll go on a big ride. But I'm looking forward to getting a regular bike soon as well. Hopefully, I think the deal is I'm going to get the Jam, Focus Jam.
Looks like a great bike.
So I think that's what's going to be happening. And I'm looking forward to going out and riding that a bit more. But for now, it's e-bike only, man. I went on my first gravel bike ride a few weeks ago.
On a gravel e-bike or
just a regular gravel bike? Yeah.
No, we're only e-bike.
Okay, let's just rein this back in. Rein this back in. If you're a gravel biker, please stop listening. Move on.
I just got the Specialized Levo SL, which is their super light.
I was just going to ask you what you're riding right now. Yeah.
I got that, and I've also got bikes. I've got no money, but I've got bikes coming out of my ass. Anyone in Madrid that wants to ride a bike, hit me up because I have a couple of bikes in the house. But I got the YT Decoy 29er, which is a trail bike. Then I got the Specialized SL, which is like a 150 trail bike, which is amazing, 17 kilos.
Really, yeah. It's insane how light that is.
And the kinematics of the suspension, it feels like it's like a 170. Like, I just did the most hardcore rock gardens in this bike. I was just like, this bike is not a trail bike. This bike's an enduro bike. And then next week I'm getting Commensal, the new 27 SX, which
awesome.
Is the 180 sort of basically the Focus Sam Squared in the Commensal version.
So basically you have a demo center in Madrid.
Pretty much, yeah.
So basically you've got a demo center going on. So if anyone wants to demo a bike, hit Sam up.
Yeah, that would work.
But that's cool, man. I'm just interested in how you're finding that journey with having brands send bikes to you and stuff like that. It's interesting, dude. And are you enjoying it? Did it come with some stress and some pressure, or?
Definitely comes with pressure. I have to perform. It's a very fine line to walk when you are then getting into bed with brands where they want to. Then you need to be honest in your reviews to your viewers, which I would never recommend anything. Your brand, my brand. It's all on honesty and trust.
Yeah.
And I find that quite difficult, and but at the same time I love having all the toys. It does come with I think the worst comment on YouTube is always it's nice to be Sam, he gets free bikes all the time. It's not exactly free. There's a bit of work going on that people don't see, but when Focus bring out a half weight one, they're all, in my opinion, they're all going to have half weight, full weight, full fat, half fat.
Yeah.
And get yourself a half fat, because it's for the half fat is really for the purist, the pure mountain biker. And it rides because it has a little bit more weight in it. It rides more like a downhill bike, not an e-bike.
Okay.
Like it's really planted.
Right. Yeah.
So I love it. The SL is amazing. So you are a worker. You seem to put out a lot of content, and I do have the Defiance Handbook here as well.
Mate, me too. She's right here, right by my side.
And
don't get caught slipping.
Anyone that hasn't downloaded this, there'll be a link in the description. Another plug for Davey.
Thank you.
It's amazing. Like, honestly, I've been using it. What have I ticked off lately?
I was going to say, what are you ticking?
I definitely ticked off I love Ollie Wilkins. I did that, definitely. The first time I saw that. And the movies I did. What did I do the other day that I read? Big Lebowski, I watched that again. I love that. Superbad, Groundhog Day, Jurassic Park 1 and 2. And then something I hadn't seen, which I really liked, Despicable Me. I watched 1 and 2. I haven't watched 3 yet. And I love that.
Cool.
That was so funny.
Cool.
I don't get into the cartoon stuff much, but that was hilarious. Those little minions.
It's funny. That was actually on the TV while I was making that list. And that's why I was like, I'm going to put this on because it's cool.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That's funny.
So you are a worker, and that does I've lost my notes here. So you are a worker, and what does your day look like? A day in the life of Davey. What do you do? What are your rituals? What are your morning routines? How many hours a day do you work?
Yeah, I think it's easy right now to make yourself sound like you're super busy and you know what I mean, like you live this really like crazy life. But I'll be honest. I'll be dead genuine with you, because again, I think you can easily start saying stuff that you don't actually do that often. But I'll be 100% truthful. So.
Please do.
So again, taking a lot of inspiration from that Own the Day book. Again, massive. So every morning, I got into the routine of going for a walk with the dog. Since we went into lockdown, so the story of this is actually that a friend of mine who lives up the road, she was really struggling when we went into lockdown because her job, she didn't lose her job, but she got told to stay at home, and she was really she fell into that whole like laying in all day, watching Netflix. She got into that trap. So I was like, right, I'm not having any of this. 6 a.m. every day, we're walking the dogs for 1 hour.
6 a.m.
every day. So this started in March.
Room in the UK at 6 a.m.
It's brutal, man. This started in March, but what we started doing was we went running every day. So we ran a 12k every morning for months. Anyway, so we've made a few adjustments to this now. So now it's 6:30. So every morning at 6:30, I go for a walk with the dog, and I take with me my bottle of water with water, lemon and salt in it, just to get things going. You need to replenish your minerals and also get hydrated in the morning. I come back, get in the cold. I think cold exposure is super important for anybody. If you've seen any of my recent vlog things that I've done, you'll know that I've made a cold plunge in my back garden out of a wheelie bin. So I made that in the back.
Really?
Yeah. It's so bad, dude, but it works. I just I cleaned out one of my wheelie bins and filled it full of cold water, and every morning I go in it. You'll watch Instagram live every morning. I go in the cold plunge at about 7:30. So do that. Get in the cold.
That's gonna get harder.
It's getting hard.
It's gonna get harder.
It's getting hard already. It's tough.
You might have to crack the ice soon.
Yeah, hopefully. But I think it's important to have those few things, especially before you actually start work, that you've accomplished something, that you've ticked off, a walk, you've had a bit of exercise. There's a lot to be said for getting up and seeing sunrise. It's good to align with the, what do they call it? Your circadian rhythm. You got. I think it's important to be aligned with that. So yeah, definitely do those things, and then read and a coffee every morning without fail. I read, even if it's just for 10-15 minutes, just some quiet.
How much coffee?
One.
Only one. And coffee is my
coffee.
I have like 4 in the morning. It's terrible.
I can easily do that as well, man. But I've learned, especially working at home at the moment, got to try and tone it down with that a little bit, because I end up absolutely off my tits all day. So 1 coffee, read a book in silence, and then start work. So.
And what do you do anything like 45 minutes on, 10-minute break?
Yeah, I'm super regimented. I think you have to be, especially if anyone's working at home at the moment. I think it's really easy to just end up sat behind the laptop. So my normal day-to-day before lockdown would be being on the road. I work for a few different brands. I have my distribution company, Hook It, so I look after the sales and the marketing for that. I work for Sax Underwear as well, so I look after a dealer network with that, and I do some marketing for Sax. I run Red Bull Spect Eyewear in the UK, so I'm the brand manager for Red Bull Spect. Ninja's Gloves, and also I help out a little bit with Natural Leaf CBD oil. So basically, I've got a lot going on, man. Got a lot going on. So normally it'd be a case of going out on the road and visit, driving all day, meetings, whatever. Whereas at the moment, I'm sort of at home like most people, sat behind the laptop. So yeah, I break things up 2-hour slots. So usually I start at 9 to 11, 11 till 12, an hour long break, and then 12 till 2. I'm trying to think. 9, 11, hour long break, 12 till 2, have some lunch, and then 3 till 4, and then finish at 4.
Yeah. Oh, good. It's it's definitely, I think a lot of people. I've worked from home pretty much my whole life. Not from home, but I've been a freelance photographer for my whole life, and never had a real job or a desk job.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people in this COVID lockdown are really suffering because they, you got to be careful what you wish for. A lot of people say, "Oh, I want to work from home," but
mate,
It's actually not that easy.
When home becomes work and work becomes home, there's a really fine balance that you've got to find, because it's so easy just to be like, well, I might as well just keep working. I'm not doing anything else. And next thing you know, you've worked a 15-hour day and you've had no time, like no downtime. So I always think about it, even if you're your own business, if you have your own business, if you worked for somebody else, they'll give you 4 weeks holiday. You'd be told to go home at 5 p.m. I think you've got to try as much as possible. There's always going to be times where you have to do a late shift. I do them all the time with the podcast because I do that on top of everything else. I think it's important that you make time for yourself. There's a lot to be said, especially if you're creative or you want to be creative, for finding space around you. You've got to have space. You've got to be able to just go for a walk and just think.
When do you get that thinking space?
Yeah, I like running. I like running. Then? Yeah, I go for a run, a ride. I mean, a ride's the best medicine, isn't it? If you start feeling a little bit anxious or a bit stressed or whatever, jumping on the bike. But I think it's learning, isn't it? It's just a learning curve.
It's more than that. It's as a creative person, for me, getting out on the bike is my thinking time. Yeah, I definitely take I take notes on my phone, like dictaphone notes.
Nice.
Thinking about things that and so for you, when does that sort of the magic happen? Because when you're working, you can't think. I can't think about anything when I'm working.
I think for me, there's a few different ways that I have some of the worst or best ideas. I really like going into these horrible workout holes where you'll go and just set some ridiculous workout that you want to do, and really grind and just be in your own head. Do you know? I really like that. It's kind of sadistic, and I get shit off my friends all the time. But I'll be that guy that'll be like, oh, I'm just gonna go and try and run a marathon today, or do you know what I mean? Just do something totally out of your comfort zone that allows you that time and space to think. But then just making time for yourself, man. It's as simple as that. I think you need that space. We're not designed to sit behind a laptop for 8 hours a day. We're not designed to do it. We should be out hunting for food, and then sat by a campfire, right? So
exactly. So so all the people that are in lockdown, there's I think that obviously winter's going to be a hard one. So the Defiance thing is a great idea. If you used got to plug it as much as possible, mate. It's like those cheesy.
You're my number one salesman. What was the commission on these again? I can't remember.
You seen that Wayne's World skit when he's like, I'm not talking. What do you mean? I hate it when we see those stupid commercials when they just brand placement everywhere. I love it. Nothing.
You're the number one.
So someone that's, let's say, one of my mates actually is he's a bike mechanic and he has been laid off actually, which surprises me. And someone that's maybe out of work that hasn't got a lot to do, and you've got your cold therapy, you've got your breathing things, you've got what if you could pick one of your tools out of your toolbox, what would it be? What would you advise people? One thing a day that could let them own the day or help them own it more than, what would be one thing that you would pick?
I think being in the cold, to be honest, as horrible as it sounds, being in the cold, that's one. I think because that brings everything together. That gives you a little bit of space because no one's going to be in there with you. It's going to give you time. It's meditative because I find the one thing I love about being in the cold is that you can't think about anything else. If you're struggling with anxiety or, bit of depression or, whatever title you want to give that, if you get in a cold bath and just focus on breathing, that's all you're going to think about. And I think it's super important. I think, and also there's that little bit of a win that you get when you get out and you're like, I didn't want to get in that, but I've done it. I've accomplished something. I've been in it.
That sounds pretty evil to start with. How does that look on a nicer day? How would someone start that? A cold shower, maybe 30 seconds cold shower,
totally,
or something
totally.
like that?
I think there's some amazing stuff out there. If you've not seen Wim Hof's documentary on Vice, it's a great place to start. Look at all the benefits you get from being in the cold. They're starting to now tie it together with, fighting off signs of what's it called? Mind blank. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Parkinson's And when you, what's it called? The way you start losing your mind a little bit. Oh, what's it called?
Alzheimer's.
Dementia, and yeah, Alzheimer's, dementia. So there's a lot of benefits for.
Are you trying to do a joke then?
Yeah, man, you can tell, right? It works. It works a treat, people.
Your mind.
Prime example right here. It works a treat.
So with mountain biking being like an alpha sport, with it's driven by a whole bunch of crazy dudes that want to go downhill fast as possible or do triple backflips. I think it's very interesting that you have sort of opened up the mind space and started talking about the anxiety and the depression and things that people do face on a daily basis. Just talk me through sort of why and sort of the angle that you want to go with that, because I think it's been received really well.
Thank you. I think more than anything, I'm just interested in it. I've had my battles as well, dude. I'm very open about that. I've had some mental health issues, especially when you start a business and it's not going great and you have literally not a pot to piss in. I've been there. I've been depressed. I've been anxious. I've had anxiety. I get anxiety now. I still get it. If I don't get anxiety once every couple of weeks and have a day where I'm all itchy and like I can't focus on stuff like this, there's something wrong if I'm not having that. So I think I'm just I think just modern society to me is still just a bit of a trip. Like I'm so blown away by social media, and I want to know how people cope with it. I want to help people cope with it as well, because it's all this sort of stuff that we're dealing with, all the news, or especially right now with coronavirus and all the negativity and all of the pressure that we face just as like these meat animals walking around this rock. Like, it's such a strange existence right now. I honestly feel that.
It really is.
And I really started noticing more and more as we were doing the podcast and the podcast was growing, just people were reaching out and saying like, you're actually helping, and I wasn't trying to do it. Like, I wasn't trying to talk about mental health. It just kept coming up. The odd athlete would be like, especially when you start talking about injuries or things that people have gone through throughout their career, these little conversations started happening of like, yeah, I really struggle with depression. Or I remember having Brett Tippie on talking about being an alcoholic. And I think I just want to get into people's heads a little bit more. I want to know more about them. I want to know where that comes from, how they deal with it. But also it shows that these people, again, we were saying before, they're just regular people, man. Whether it's Brett Tippie or Danny McCaskill or whatever, they're just regular dudes. Like, and can you imagine being Danny Mac and having over 1 million or whatever he's got on all those people looking at you? I mean, all the time. And you said the same. I struggle with it with 50,000 downloads or whatever it is. I'm like, fuck, this is really this is a trip. I don't like it. Imagine having all those people looking at you. I know. Like, how do you deal with that?
I know, it's mental.
And we're all content creators in a way, whether you've got social media with 100 followers on it. It's weird to think that someone with that could put something online that could go viral, that could make you into an internet celebrity within 2 hours.
It's crazy, man. And, I appreciate it. And I definitely can resonate with a lot of things that you talk about. Like, I think everyone has their struggles, and I think I commend that you do that. And I think I think it should be done more. And I think, especially in our sport, because it is super male driven and it's super, alpha male. And I think it's really good. And there's something in the McDuff interview that you were talking about having imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I want to, how old are you, Dave?
33.
33. Well, I'm the older brother here, and I want to tell you a little story that in a way, I've been a pretty high achiever. I was pretty much one of the youngest portrait photographers at the Sun newspaper in England.
Okay. Wow.
And the Times when I was about 25.
Yeah.
And I was eaten up with imposterism, because I was really young and I was a really good photographer, and I still am a really good photographer. But it really took away the pleasure of doing I would go. I remember photographing Rihanna and a lot of big famous people and portraits, one-on-one.
Wow.
And I would just be a choked up mess, and I couldn't talk, I couldn't think, and I just was like, I shouldn't be here, and from from an older standpoint now, I look back at that and now I just kind of whenever I get like that, I just kind of I agree with myself. Yeah, you shouldn't be there, dickhead.
Really,
course,
right?
Mate, you're gonna fuck this up. Of course you are. Yeah, like every other job you've done in your life, you fucked up. Of course.
Wow.
And it kind of like it actually, I did see a psychologist about that for a little bit, and it actually helped.
Really?
Like just sort of taking it away. Like just sort of just agreeing with the little devil on your shoulder.
Yeah,
and,
just own it.
Yeah.
Almost, just own it.
Yeah,
I think
basically just own it.
For me, that journey's been. I remember like some of the early episodes of the podcast. Like you're trying to be this like all-knowing guy about everything and about everyone. Do you know what I mean? And it's just not.
Yep.
It's not possible. It's impossible. Like you can't know every athlete's race results. You can't know where did Lucas Shaw finish at Fort William in 2000 and 2014. I don't know. I ain't got a clue. I've no idea. And I think it's about just owning that and just being like, oh, it's just I just don't know. It's as simple as that. I can't know everything. And I think that's like you said, just owning it and just being like, this is just me, and getting the ego out of the way and not trying to impress people with your downhill mountain biking or e-bike knowledge, because you can't know everything. It's impossible. Imagine if you did. We wouldn't be sat here having this conversation. Would we?
I know.
So it is an interesting thing though. Imposter syndrome. It's definitely a thing, especially when you're around these other high achievers, and you're just like, why on earth would I be doing this? And I think as well with like the podcast side of it, it's very difficult to hide behind it if you don't know stuff, etc. Like it's very difficult to have a 3-hour conversation or 2-hour conversation with somebody and be fake. At some point, you're going to show your true colors. You're going to slip up. People are going to go, yeah, this guy's fake. This is all just an act. You're just acting. You're just trying to impress people. People will see that.
He doesn't even own a bike.
Exactly.
If you were, I'm going to start Tim Ferrissing you now. If you could speak to your younger self, like 10 years, so maybe when you're in your early 20s, or if a younger rider or someone that wants to get into the bike industry, whether it's a podcast or working in the industry, what would be your advice to yourself or that younger person?
Good question. Wow. Hitter.
There's still a page to go, so let's...
No, man, I think it's a good question because I've not really ever thought about that, to be honest with you. I'm kind of proud of the fact, though, that I've always just done what I want to do. I very rarely let resistance get in the way. If I have an idea, pretty much just usually go with it. I'm not the sort of person to be like, oh, I can't do that, or I'm not in a position to do that, or I can't do it because of financial reasons. I think there's always a way of getting it. And I think that'd be something that I'd say to anyone younger. It'd be like, if you have an idea and it's not totally ridiculous, like trying to break a world record, like just go with it. Just follow your heart, man.
As long as it's not too dangerous either.
Totally. I live my life by a quote which basically says, jump, you might fall, you might fly. And to me, that is it. You might fall, you might fly. Either way, at least there's no... To be a little bit deeper about this, there's probably nothing worse than getting to those final few breaths of your life and going, fuck, I wish I'd done that. I wish I'd just given that a shot. And I am kind of proud of that I learnt that quite early. I think around 15 or 16, I learnt that, and I had that like outlook on life that like you just got to go and do stuff and just go with it and go with the flow, basically. Yeah. So
great, man.
Yeah. I don't know if I have any advice myself. It'd just keep following your heart and just follow your bliss.
Very good. Very good. Any regrets?
Oh man. No, you know what? No, not really, to be honest. I mean, we've all done stupid shit. I mean, I've done stupid stuff. But no regrets, man. I think I'm really sort of happy that even we're sat having this conversation, and I'm stoked to be doing this, if that makes sense, which means that I have no regrets, because it's everything, if it is a regret, ended up with me being here, sat talking to you. This is, in theory, this is work. Like, this is what we do for a job. So yeah, no regrets, man, because it's all ended up being in this place right now.
Turn back a little bit, or go forward a little bit. Where are we going to be in 5 years in the bike industry? How do you see the e-bikes affecting the whole industry as a general, and sort of what what landscape do you see it in?
Yeah,
as far as
I feel like
who's going to be riding what?
Yeah, totally. E-bikes are definitely opening up the bike industry to more and more people. One of the best things, actually, I should have said this before about what I'm loving about this e-bike journey is that I remember. Go back a little bit to like I was riding. Before I had this bike, the Focus. I was on a canyon, and I remember I was in the Peak District. I was going up this pretty technical climb, and there was an older gentleman and his wife walking towards me, and I remember the guy just been like, "Oh, go on, lad, keep going." Like, you know, I remember I can see him saying it to me, and me being like blowing out my ass, been super tired, covered in mud, just been like, "Oh, thanks, mate." And then fast forward a few months, it's going up a very similar climb. It wasn't the same one, but the same thing happened where a guy with his wife and he had a kid was coming towards me, and there was like this shift where he was like, watch me going up it on an e-bike. It's like, you know, kind of fast.
Yeah.
And him just being, you could tell his brain was going, I could do that. I could get up there on this. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think e-bikes are going to continue to open up mountain biking to more and more people. You know, even my dad doesn't ride a bike at all. You know, he's had some injuries in his past. He had broke his neck, not got much balance. You know, he's not really that, I wouldn't say he's not that fit because he is, like, he's quite an active guy. But, you know, he can go out for an e-bike ride and do 15, 20 miles and not be that tired after it. I mean, you're going to be a little bit, but I think it's opening up to so many more people. I think e-bikes are obviously going to get lighter. They're going to get more, hopefully cheaper a little bit. So it's a little bit more accessible because I think that does put people off. If you want to have an e-bike and a regular bike, there's your £10,000 investment, like, you know, and the rest, you know. Yeah. So I think hopefully it gets cheaper. You know, they get a bit more accessible. I think the bike industry will hopefully still be in a really good place, to be honest. I feel like, especially right now, because we've just had this huge boom through lockdown where every man and his dog's gone out and bought a bike. But we seem to go through these little things in the bike industry where it's up and down, and it's like any sport, man, or any hobby.
I kind of think that with COVID and the e-bike coming at the same time, I think that we're actually in for a massive boom. Like, I think the next 5 years is going to be like, hold on to your Sax Underwear.
Yeah. Hopefully, man.
Because I see it the same as you, you know, like I see like people that, like my mate Nick, who's 41, and he was 108 kilos 3 months ago. We were having a couple of beers, and he ended up buying my old bike off me after having a few beers. And now we were riding last weekend. He's got motorbike background, but he's never ridden a mountain bike before, an e-bike before. And that's 3 months ago. The guy's down to 95 kilos.
Really?
A shitload of weight. He's also gone on a diet. And we were riding a pretty hard sort of section. And I dropped the hammer just for fun because, you know, I was like, oh, I want to go.
Yeah.
And I stopped and I just waiting, looking at my phone. And he's there. Like, he's like, I was like, Jesus, man, how fast did you go? Like, he goes, I'll feel in the groove, mate. Feel in the groove.
That's man.
And it's amazing just to see, you know, like you know, like, yeah, you do need to have money, but the fact that he's out there and he's lost like 13 kilos or something, and he's loving it, and he goes every weekend now. Like, that's something. If there was 3 years ago and we didn't have e-bikes and he tried to go once, he would have never.
You just put him off, definitely. Yeah. But do you think that the e-bike then will transition people into a regular bike, or will people just continue as e-bikers?
I don't think they will. I think we're going to have, you know, like in the next 5 years, we'll have 15 kilo e-bikes and 20 kilo e-bikes.
Yeah.
And that's where it's going to be at, and that'll be amazing. And then you'll have your purists that will be, you know, you'll still have your enduro bikes, but I think it will be less and less because unless you're racing enduro or racing downhill, you know, it's a better experience. You can just have more fun.
Yeah.
Like if you like going downhill, maybe not for the cross country guys because they really like to suffer. But I like the downhill, man. Like, I just want to go up and then go down. Like, it's not,
totally.
I don't like the suffer. And All right, so this is definitely Tim Ferriss, I'm pretty sure. So if you could have a billboard at the end of a World Cup like right at the finish line, that said something, advertising or whatever, what would it say? Either motivational or advertising.
Hook it products. No, I'm joking. I'd say, you know what? I'm going to be a bit cringy, but fuck it. I just put like, aren't we lucky to be here? ? Because if you're there, you're watching mountain biking, you've found like the sickest sport. There's going to be the sickest people there, like-minded people.
Yeah.
And I just make people stop for 5 minutes, look at it, and go, and just have a think about, wow, aren't we lucky to be here doing this? Like, this is, for a lot of people, that's a job.
Yeah.
And I think
that's a great answer.
That's what I'd do.
Very good.
Thank
great
you.
Answer.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought about that. That's a great answer. If you could interview anyone, whether in our sport or anyone at all on the podcast, who would it be?
Ooh, I have got a bit of a tick list, to be honest, of people that I want to sit and chat to. One of my main goals is to share a guest with Joe Rogan. I want to have someone on my podcast that's been on his podcast, or vice versa. So they come on mine, then they go on there at some point. And I've had guests
that's doable.
Yeah, I've had guests, I think, that could do that. But yeah, as far as actually sitting down and talking to somebody, oh man, I'm a really big fan of a guy called Mike Catherwood, who used to be called Psycho Mike. He's a sort of a fitness guy, radio presenter. I'd really like to just sit and talk to him. He's got a really good outlook on life. I'd love to sit and chat with Aubrey Marcus about business and how he's managed to do what he's done. You know, quite a spiritual guy. I think we'd have quite an interesting conversation. In regards to action sports, man, I'd bring back Dave Mirra. I'd sit and chat with Dave Mirra for a little bit. I reckon that'd be so fun.
What a shame.
I know, right? Travis Pastrana would be arguably one of my biggest and most, he's on the tick list for sure. Really jealous of a friend of mine who's done a really, really good podcast with Travis. So yeah, Travis would be up there for sure, dude. I think they're like my three, to be honest. They're the three that really stand out that I'd like to do, but I don't know how I'd handle it though. I don't know if I'd be. I'd be pretty nervous.
You'd own it, mate. You'd own it.
I don't know.
You'd own it. That's you'd prepare and you'd give yourself your little degree in. I love that part. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. Just give yourself a little degree and put it on the wall.
Give yourself a little degree.
Yeah, that's good.
What's the best book you've read this year?
Oh man, Stephen Pressfield, The War of Art. I read it every 3 months.
War of Art.
Yeah, The War of Art. It's all about resistance. It's really good for anyone who's creative. If you're a content creator and you're struggling with basically resistance, you know, that thing in your brain telling you not to do something, telling you you're not good enough to do something. The War of Art, man, is a game.
I've got to read that.
Mate, it's a game changer. Send me your address and I'll send you a copy because I love buying people books. So I'll buy you a copy.
Man.
I'd be honoured to buy you a copy of that book.
I was going to say, I didn't, going back to the alpha male world, who would have thought that a BMX or a mountain bike podcast could have a book club?
I know, right? It's crazy, huh?
It's so funny. And I was like, oh man, I can't wait to the next one. I'm going to read that book. I'm in. And
it's so good.
I was just like, it's so funny. Like, I love it. I think, we're in the 2020, mate.
Thank you, man.
Modern mountain biker.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It is cool. It's different, that's for sure. But why not? Why not?
Yeah. I think it's great. I think we've got to break down that stereotype bogan. I lived in England for a while, so it's a chav, and then you got a bogan in Australia.
That's right.
And that's kind of like, you lived in Australia, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, mate. Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
Only for a year.
I like Australia.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I just got caught in a weird world over there, to be honest. Working too much, working on the shutdowns, just earning a shit ton of money and then not knowing what to do with it, and then just going out and getting on the piss, as you guys say.
On the piss, mate. On the piss.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd like to go back. I'd like to go and experience it in a different way. The whole plan, it was really funny. The whole plan was to go and race the Australian downhill nationals. Me and my friend.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we only ended up doing one because we just was like, nah, we're just going to stay here and just get on the piss.
Sounds perfect, mate.
It was good. It was a good time.
What's your favorite podcast right now that you listen to religiously?
Matt McDuff is killing it. Matt McDuff's podcast is amazing. He's coming at it as well from a different angle. You know, coming at it more from a spiritual and a head game sort of angle. I love Matt's stuff. And
he's such a tripper.
He's so cool, man. He's the nicest guy, and he's done an amazing job with that podcast too. And I'm very proud to say that Matt's a friend and that I pushed him to start that. So yeah, definitely that. Anything again? I know you keep bringing him up, man, but Aubrey Marcus. I was listening to an episode of Aubrey Marcus podcast today. If you just want to think outside the box a little bit more, that's pretty much a go. And then I love Joey Diaz, his podcast. He's a comedian.
I don't know Joey Diaz.
Yeah, he just tells funny stories, man, basically. He's had a really wild past of being a drug dealer and criminal and all sorts of stuff. I just love listening to that.
I think he's been on... Has he been on Joe Rogan?
Yeah, he's good friends with Rogan. So he's been on there a few times.
Yeah,
he just has the funniest anecdotes, man.
He's a funny dude,
yeah. So that.
Best series you're watching at the moment? Best series you've seen this year?
None?
Nah.
Honestly, I watched that not LeBron, Michael Jordan thing.
Oh yeah,
Last Dance.
You should watch The Boys.
Really, I'm not a TV guy, dude.
Not
a TV guy at all.
It's a series, man, and it's pretty funny. It's pretty damn funny. I just started it like a week ago, and I'm binging it big time. It's good.
Bit of an addictive personality, so when it comes to stuff like that, I shy away.
And $200 or less. Best thing that changed your life in the last year? What have you bought?
Ooh.
Bike, life, computer, anything, whatever.
Wow. Oh man, what a great question. Killing it. $200. Mate, I'm so not very spendy. I barely buy anything.
Come on, mate. Just list all your sponsors. Oh, I bought that those Sax Underwear.
Tell you what, if you were going to buy one, that Hydro Shot from Works is the bomb. It actually is though. Like there's £100.
What does it do?
It's a pressure washer, and you don't need to. It's a battery powered thing, and it actually is like really helpful because I keep my bike in the house like you, so I have to wash it every time it comes in. Anyway, there's that, and then I haven't really. Yeah, I'm trying to think. This light thing's pretty cool that you made me buy.
Yeah, that's a good purchase there.
Good purchase, yeah.
Yep.
What else? I think that's it, man. I didn't buy it, but I got a Red Bull fridge, which is pretty cool.
That's good. Is it full of Red Bull?
Oh yeah. I don't I'll be honest.
Do you drink Red Bull?
Just looks so sick.
It's no good for my stomach.
No.
Red Bull hurts me. All right, Davey. So the questions are done. Thank you so much for your time, mate.
Mate, it's been so fun. I'll be honest. Can I just say, this was way more fun than I'm not going to say that I expected, but this is like I thought it was just going to be like all about e-bikes. So you really surprised me, man. I really enjoyed it.
Dude, I tried to come at from your angle. Tried to just look at it a little bit differently, and thank you.
Super fun, mate. Thank you so much. Honestly, I really appreciate you doing this. Like, it's always nice to be on the opposite side of the microphone sometimes, and you should definitely put this out as a podcast at some point for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, when I do that, I'll hit you up and ask you how that's, at the moment, YouTube's enough on my plate.
Yeah.
And also, I think people like seeing a little bit of the footage, like I think people like the one I did last week when I was talking to this specialized stunt jumper, Marshall Mullen. And I just put in, like background photos of him and people, when I'm talking about the bike that we're talking about, I put that in there, it kind of really, because people don't know what a Focus Sam is, a lot of people don't know what that bike is.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
I do.
So how many episodes are you in? What's this one?
This would be about 6, I'd say.
Oh, wow. Awesome, man.
But I didn't even really think it. Like, I just started doing them because of lockdown, and I didn't really. The idea was the first idea was to reach out to people that had ridden the same bike.
Right.
That were also content creators, like an American that I did on. I rode the Giant Range for 4 days, which is an e-bike, a giant e-bike, and a really great bike and a very well priced bike. And another guy did a very similar, did a review on YouTube. I hit him up, and said, let's do a Zoom or a Skype on how we found the bike. And we just talked about an hour about, so two different independents talking about that bike.
Totally.
And I thought that was interesting. And then I just sort of started branching off onto different things. And I think I'll do it, like we were talking about it 6 months ago about doing like a podcast.
Definitely.
I mean, this last one I did got massive feedback, really good feedback.
Awesome.
We got like 2,500 views in the first day.
Sick.
And but a couple of my mates rang me and they're like, do more of that.
Yeah.
Got to do more of that. That was really good.
I think it's brilliant, man. I really like it. I think you're obviously a natural at this, so just keep on keeping on with it, for sure. And if we can suggest any guests for you, then let me know.
Yeah, definitely. It's always be nice if you could get me. What's his name?
Dalai Lama.
No, Brendog would work.
Brendan would be good. Yeah,
Brendan,
sure
he would definitely work, and he's got that new Scott Monster truck.
Yeah,
that I'd love to talk about. So yeah, but mate, love your work, love what you do, and thanks so much. And if you want to give a shout out to your sponsors or anything, now would be the time, or anyone that's helped you along the way.
Yeah, sure. I mean, thank you to everyone who's watched or listened to this. Thank you so much. It's insane that anyone would do that, with what I've got to say. But yeah, massive thank you to Focus, Fox, Muck-Off, Works, Natural Leaf, Sax, Ninjas. Yeah, everyone who helps make this thing a reality. Thank you so much. It's insane. It really is. Nearly tearing me up, man. It's just crazy that we call this a job. It's nuts.
I know, it's crazy. And your handles. So how do people find you?
At the Hookit Podcast, the HKT Podcast.
The Hookit Podcast
on Instagram.
And that is on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
Right, as link will be in the description. And Davey, thank you so much. Stay safe out there, Davey, mate.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. And riders, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have, I would love you to share it with your friends. Tag me, tag Davey. It really means a lot. And
show your nan.
Show your nan, maybe. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Done.